Aloha everyone. So we're going to start talking about a subject that is very sensitive and somewhat controversial. I'm going to talk about selling real estate in Lahaina town after the big fire. So the first property has already officially sold in the Lahaina burn zone. It is a condo that was completely destroyed by the fire, and obviously it sold at a huge discount compared to what it was worth before the fire. But before we get into the details of that sale, let's talk about why this is such a sensitive topic to discuss. There's been a lot of concern that there will be a massive land grab that will force Lahaina residents that have lived here for generations to sell their properties for pennies on the dollar and relocate to other parts of Maui or even off the island altogether. There's also been some speculation that the fire was orchestrated by people with the intention of creating this land grab. Now, I will go on record and say that I personally do not believe the fire was a massive conspiracy. It seems more likely to me that it was a combination of years of mismanaged resources, extremely strong winds, and negligence on the behalf of several big companies and government agencies that caused the fire. But that's just my opinion, and I think that everyone should have the freedom to create their own opinions and the freedom to express those opinions. So feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. Just make sure your comments are respectful. Now, regardless of what caused the fire, the concern for a potential land grab still remains. I think it's incredibly important to remember that property owners in Lahaina are very diverse. They're not only ethnically diverse, but also economically diverse. The people that need the most help are those who were living paycheck to paycheck before the fire. Now, real estate in Lahaina was not cheap before the fire, so many of the people that were living paycheck to paycheck were renters, not property owners. But there were also several very old neighborhoods that had homes that were in their families for generations. I believe these are the people who should be offered all the resources they need to keep their land and rebuild their lives if that's what they wish to do. However, it is important to keep in mind that some of the Lahaina property owners, like investors and seasonal residents, well, they're going to want to sell their property, and I believe they have the right to do exactly that without the real estate agents, the sellers, or the potential buyers being persecuted or publicly shamed in any way. To be clear, I am not actively marketing to Lahaina property owners to encourage them to sell, and this video is not a solicitation to purchase or acquire any interest in the properties that are in the affected areas of the fire. But I have already had a handful of people reach out to me to ask if I could help them sell their properties in Lahaina. So yes, eventually I will have property listings coming up in Lahaina town, especially in the neighborhood I live in myself. Okay, now that we have all of that out of the way, let's take a look at the one property that has already sold in the Lahaina burn zone. It was at a condominium complex called Ainanalu, which was a short-term rentable resort-style property right in the middle of town. Before the fire, this place was a zen-like sanctuary with two beautiful pool areas located just a couple blocks from Front Street. The buildings were wooden construction, so pretty much the entire development was destroyed by the fire. Now, as far as pricing, the two-bedroom condos at Ainanalu were selling between $840,000 and $930,000 the year before the fire. The two-bedroom condo that sold after the fire was Unit H110, which closed for just $140,000. Here's a list of all the sales at Ainanalu over the past year. As you can see, the property that sold prior to the fire that was the most comparable to Unit H110 was Unit H105, which was the same size, the same floor plan, and in the same building as H110. That unit sold for $840,000 on January 4th, 2023. So the discount after the fire was a whopping $700,000, which is around 87%. Now that is a huge discount, but keep in mind that the new owner is now responsible for paying HOA dues and other expenses on a condo that does not exist, and there is no guarantee on how soon that property will be rebuilt or if it will be rebuilt at all. I've heard estimates of around 7 to 10 years before the property could potentially be completed, and like I said, there isn't any guarantee the property will be rebuilt at all. Now, I did not represent the buyer or the seller in this transaction, so I don't have any inside knowledge of this sale, but I do know that the buyer was already a current owner at Ainanalu, so they probably already intended to remain invested in Ainanalu for the long term. And while they are taking on a lot of risk and expense in the short term, there is potential for a huge upside if and when the property is rebuilt. By the way, I also looked up the tax records for this property, and in particular the assessed value, which breaks down the value of the land compared to the building. The 2023 assessed value for the land was just over $155,000. So that might help to explain how they arrived at $140,000 for the sale of the property after the fire. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how property sales evolve in Lahaina over the coming months and years as the town is being rebuilt. It's my intention to continue to share updates in the most conscious and respectful way possible. Please keep in mind that I also own property that is in the Lahaina burn zone myself, so this isn't just something that I'm working through in my professional life, but it's also something I'm navigating in my personal life as well. If you know anyone that owns property in Lahaina, you might want to share this video with them, because I'm sure most people are not aware of this first property sale in Lahaina. Also, feel free to subscribe to my channel for continued updates in Lahaina, but also be aware that this is a real estate channel and I am a real estate broker, and we will be talking about and touring properties throughout the Hawaiian Islands, not just Lahaina. That said, thanks for tuning in and taking this journey with me, and I hope to see you on the next video. Aloha.